Okay, guys, so these notes are about inequalities. Inequalities we're going to solve them almost exactly like equations. There's like one extra step. Other than that, what they represent, it means something entirely different. So while an equation might say x equals 5, right, x has to equal 5. An inequality is going to say something like maybe x is less than 5, meaning x can be 4.9, x can be 4, x can be 3, x can be negative 14. As long as x is less than 5, then any number less than 5 could be x. Like some real life places you might think of an inequality and like the speed limit. When you drive the speed limit, like outside Covina High, the speed limit has to be like 30 miles an hour or maybe even 25, probably 20, 25. Anyhow, so that can be written in a like mathematical type of way. You could say the speed s has to be less than 25 miles per hour. When you go to like Magic Mountain or something, you got to be a certain height to ride a ride, maybe 48 inches. So maybe your height, in a math context, it would say height needs to be greater than or equal, right? That's what this symbol means. Height needs to be greater than or equal to 48 inches. So like I said, these inequalities are very similar to solving equations, the way we solve them at least. We did skip around a little bit. I'm going to have to come back to some other sections, but anyhow, not a big deal. Very similar to solving equations. So you can make sure you know what your symbols mean. Less than, right, or the symbol here means it's less than or equal to that symbol, right? If it has a line under it, it's or equal to. Here's your greater than symbol. Here's your greater than or equal to symbol. One thing I can advise you is that the less than symbol looks more like an L. Less than symbol I'm just going to say looks like an L. Kind of, at least. This is your less than symbol. It definitely looks more like an L than your greater than symbol, right? Your greater than symbol doesn't look quite so much like an L. Your less than symbol kind of looks like an L. So that's one way to try to remember. And I'm going to move along. Graphing inequalities. We'll graph an inequality on a number line. You can see if the way you graph is you put a circle at the number that is indicated, and you shade in or close the circle if you have a little line underneath the sign, right? If it's equal to it, we'll shade it in, right? So if we shade in the circle at 4, we're basically saying, oh, it can equal 4. If we leave the circle open, we're saying it can't equal 4, right? We leave it open, and you'll see in a second, and you can see the two symbols don't have the equal to part. And then you shade in the direction of the symbol, right? The less than symbol means shade to the left. The greater than symbol means shade to the right. So I'm going to just move along with this. Here I have V is less than 4, and so the 4 tells me that a circle goes at 4. The less than symbol, if you look back here, tells me to use an open circle, right? It doesn't say less than or equal to, it just says less than. So leave the circle open, don't shade it in. And it does say less than. The fact that it says less than means shade to the left, or, draw an arrow pointing to the left. So open circle at 4, shade left, meaning V has to be less than 4. V can't equal 4, but it has to be less than 4. Sorry if that wasn't on screen. Next I have N is greater than or equal to negative 5. Again, my symbol here says greater than or equal to. If you look back up here, greater than or equal to means use a closed circle. So at negative 5, don't leave it open, close it, because it has the or equal to part. Right? It's not just greater than, it has or equal to. So make sure you shade in the circle, and it does say greater than, so you're going to shade to the right. So that's to the right. So basically what we're saying is this, right? Any numbers that are negative 5 or any numbers that are greater than negative 5 would be okay to be N. Here N is less than or equal to negative 6. So circle at negative 6, less than or equal to means shaded in, less than means shade to the left, so there's that one. Here V is greater than negative 4. Greater than means Well, first of all, leave the circle open because it doesn't say or equal to. Make the circle at -4, as you can see, and then it's greater than. Greater than means shade to the right. So the next part here, we're going to solve inequalities the same as equations. So we solve inequalities the same as equations, and we're still going to use DC-MAM, but when you divide or multiply by a negative, you must flip the little symbol, right, the inequality symbol, the less than or greater than, whatever symbol you have, you got to flip it if you multiply or divide by a negative. I just kind of wrote the same thing in here. You can still solve using DC-MAM, and then if you multiply or divide by a negative, make sure you flip the symbol. So you got it in two places. So moving along here, what I would do first is I'd actually subtract 9. This inequality doesn't have, let's draw a line down the middle. That actually should happen. Doesn't have distributing, doesn't have combined like terms, doesn't have variables on both sides, so I don't need to move any, but it does have the adding or subtracting. I need to subtract 9. So when I do that, I end up with 4t is greater than 21 minus 9, right? That's 12. I'm going to divide by 4. So you see these are the same similar steps I would take in an equation. And then 4 cancels, and I get 12 divided by 4 is 3. So I'm going to write it up here. I get t is greater than 3. And if t is greater than 3, I can graph that, right? Greater than. I always mark 0, and then I'll mark the number that I need. I don't necessarily mark much more than that. So one thing I would make sure of is this. I mark 0, and a positive number goes on the right, and then you should know that what kind of numbers go on the left, right? Negative numbers on the left. Anyhow, 3 is positive. Greater than means open circle, because it doesn't say or equal to. Greater, whoops, that's supposed to stay open. And then greater than also means shade to the right. So there you go. Next problem. I'm just going to start by adding 7. Once again, this is really just 2 steps, kind of. You'll see. Let's see. Add 7. So negative 6a. Bring that down. Negative 7 plus 7 zeroes out. 17 plus 7 is 24. Next step, divide both sides by -6, and when you divide both sides by -6, you're dividing both sides by a negative number. You must flip that symbol. So now instead of saying less than or equal to, you'll say greater than or equal to. So a is left, gotta flip the symbol, and 24 divided by 6 is a -4. So that's your answer. A has to be greater than or equal to -4. A graph for it. Remember, I always like to mark 0. -4 would go on the left because it's negative, and it should be a shaded circle at -4. Shaded circle, greater than means shade to the right, so shaded circle pointing right at -4. The circle's at -4 and it's pointing right. So again, you have your algebraic solution and your graph solution. Next problem, 3t plus 7 equals or is greater than or equal to 5t plus 9. My first step here is actually going to be to move the variables to the same side. Normally I like to move the lesser variable, so I'm going to minus or subtract 3t from both sides. 3 is less than 5, so 3t is gone. Bring down the 7. Draw that line. I always forget, but the line might be helpful. So bring down the 7. 5 minus 3 is 2. 2t. Bring down the plus 9. So since I already moved my variables to the right, I definitely want to move this 9 to the left. 7 minus 9 is -2. That's greater than or equal to 2t. Last step is divide by 2. And then -2 divided by 2 is, let me just shift over here, it's -1 is greater than or equal, right? This cancels out. This is -1, and this cancels out to give me just t. And I really do like having my variable on the left, on the right. So I'm going to move my variable to the left, my constant to the right. And when I do that, I'm basically, if I took this inequality and flipped the whole thing, that's what I'm doing, which means when I flip the sides for the t and the -1, I have to make sure that if you notice this is pointing at t, when I flip the whole thing, I got to flip the symbol too so it stays pointing at t. So t is less than -1. And if t is less than -1, that can also be graphed, right? 0, -1. T is less than or equal, right? So less than or equal means shaded circle at -1. Less than means point left. So there's that. You have your graph and your algebraic solution. Up here, I forgot to box that, so let's do that. Next problem here is I'm going to go ahead and distribute is my first step. -3 times c is -3c. -3 times 4 is -12. Bring that -2 along is greater than 7. So combine like terms now. -12 minus 2, -3c minus 14 is greater than 7. And then I'm going to add 14 as my next step. 14's gone. Bring down the -3c. Whoops, I accidentally put equals, but it's a greater than symbol. Sorry about that. 7 plus 14 is 21. One more step here, guys. Divide by -3. Remember, when you divide both sides by a negative, you have to flip that symbol. So the -3 cancels. C is now by itself. I divided both sides by a negative, so I better flip that greater than and make it less than. Again, dividing both sides by -3, I better do that. And 21 divided by -3 is -7. So C is less than -7, and then a quick graph for that, right? Always show 0. -7 would be on the left of that, and less than means leave the circle open, but shade left, because less than would be shading left. So again, there's the graph answer and the algebraic